Over a century ago, the philosopher John Dewey took a hard look at our schools and saw this huge fundamental problem. He realized they were designed for a world that was basically vanishing, and he came up with this really radical blueprint for a better way to learn. This quote, this says it all, doesn't it? A school supply dealer told Dewey this, and it just perfectly captures the issue. The entire system was built for kids to sit and passively listen, not to actually do anything. Schools have become these places for just memorizing facts, not, workshops for building real, genuine understanding. So, okay, let's get into Dewey's diagnosis. What he saw was a school system that was completely out of step with the modern world. It was this institution that was preparing kids for a way of life that, well, it just didn't exist anymore. And this comparison right here, this is really the heart of the problem. See, before the whole industrial age, the home was the center of work. Kids learned about responsibility, they learned real-world skills just by being a part of the family's daily life. But then work moved into factories, and all that hands-on learning just evaporated. And the school system, it never really adapted to fill that massive gap. And the result of that was the school basically became this island, completely cut off from the real world. Think about it. It was trying to prepare children for a society that they couldn't actually experience inside its four walls. It became a place to learn lessons, not a place to learn how to live. So Dewey's solution wasn't just some small tweak or a minor reform. Nope. It was a revolution. He proposed a shift in the educational universe that was just as profound as the one Copernicus sparked in astronomy. Seriously. And that's the core idea. Right there, in his own words, Dewey was arguing that education needed a brand new center, a new sun for everything else to start revolving around. So what was this big shift? Well, the old model put the curriculum at the center of everything. The teacher, the textbook, that was the sun. Dewey came along and said, no, we've got it all backward. The center has to be the child's own natural instincts, their own activities. That's the real starting point. Everything else, the whole apparatus of education, should be organized around them. Okay, so that sounds great, but how do you actually do that? How do you build a school around the child? Dewey's answer was actually super practical. You organize the school around what he called occupations. But we need to be clear on what he really meant by that word. Right, and it's so important to get this. When Dewey said occupations, he didn't just mean shop class or, busy work to keep kids occupied. No way. For him, occupations were these rich activities that actually mirrored the real work of society. Things like cooking or building or sewing. And these activities would become these incredible active hubs for learning about science and history and just the world. Let's make this a little more concrete. Imagine an activity all about making cloth. It starts with the real deal, raw wool, straight from a sheep. The kids get their hands on it, they investigate it, they compare it to cotton, and they figure out for themselves why wool was the go-to fiber for so long. They discovered that its fibers are just perfect for spinning, while raw cotton is a total pain to process by hand. And from there, they'd actually reinvent the simple tools they need and step by step turn that raw fluff into actual woven cloth. And this, right here, is where the magic happens. That one single, hands-on activity suddenly becomes this gateway to a whole universe of knowledge. You've got the physics of how a loom works, the biology of different fibers, the geography of where cotton and wool come from, the history of the Industrial Revolution. It all just naturally unfolds from the simple act of making something real. See, this is what gives learning a real motive. It's not about memorizing something for a test on Friday. It's about solving a problem that's right in front of you right now. As Dewey put it so well, this approach brings the child into contact with realities. But for Dewey, this was about so much more than just individual learning. The ultimate goal, the big vision, was to transform the school itself into a miniature society, what he so brilliantly called an embryonic community. So the goal here is to stop thinking of school as this separate little bubble where you go to learn lessons. Instead, it should be a place where children learn through what he called directed living, a genuine community where they're working together, solving problems together, just like, well, just like in real life. And this approach completely flips our whole idea of discipline on its head. In a typical school, discipline is all about enforcing rules to keep kids quiet so they can listen. But in this new kind of school, discipline is organic. It grows naturally out of the work itself, out of the need to cooperate to actually get the job done. It's the discipline of a busy, productive workshop, not a silent lecture hall. And when kids are actually engaged in that kind of active, collaborative work, a completely different social vibe emerges. Helping each other isn't seen as cheating. It's just what you do. The room fills up with this free exchange of ideas. And success isn't about who got the highest score on a test, but about the quality of the thing you all created together. So, yeah, it all comes back to this one really powerful vision, turning every school into a living, breathing model of a healthy society. It's about preparing kids for their future, not just by talking about it, but by letting them truly live it right now. So why on earth are we talking about ideas from 1899? Well, because in our world of AI and constant, rapid change, Dewey's blueprint for what a school should be might be more important than it's ever been. I mean, his central point, that schools are too often disconnected from real life, real motivation, real work, that's a criticism that could have been written yesterday. That gap between what happens in school and what happens in life is a problem we are absolutely still wrestling with. Just think about some of the biggest buzzwords in education today: project-based learning, social-emotional learning, connecting school to the real world. Guess what? None of this is actually new. All of it has its roots right here in Dewey's philosophy. He basically laid the foundation for how we think about modern education. In the end, Dewey's message is really one of trust. It's about trusting that if we create a rich, active, and meaningful present for our kids, we are giving them the absolute best preparation for their future. All that other stuff, the knowledge, the discipline, that'll come. It'll follow naturally. So Dewey really leaves us all with a challenge. It's a question we should be asking about every school. Are they just places to go to learn lessons? Or are they places where our kids get to truly live?